2020, in March of 2020, I became a Silva Method instructor. And right as everything was shutting down, I was driving north to Connecticut to see Ken. And this year, I also celebrate my 5th year of being a Silva Method instructor. And just like our Silva techniques teaches us to pay attention to those intuitive flashes of insight and aha moments. Becoming a Silva Method instructor was one of those for me as well. And I live here in Atlanta with my husband, and we're actually celebrating our 20th year of being together, not quite married 20 years yet, but and we have 3 kiddos. My oldest, Johnny, is 16. My middle, William, will be 14 this year, and my youngest, Kaylee, will be 10 this year. And it is a family affair, the Silva Method for us here in our home. My oldest, Johnny, went through the course when he was 10 with Ken. And also my middle, William, also went through when he was 10 with Ken as well. And my youngest keeps asking me when it's her turn. So it's time for her. So Ken, watch out. She's coming your way. Um, but tonight we are here to really tune in to a life mastery, the Silva Method, and a preview of the Silva Mastery graduate seminar that Ken is going to walk us through. The Silva Mastery is his wonderful baby, and it is an amazing graduate course and next step for those of you who haven't taken it yet and who have taken it so you can review. Um, it really deepens everything that we learn in the 4-day immersion. And I have gotten so much out of, I've reviewed it several times. Also, I review the immersion several times. So I've seen some of you in class as a student. And it's really important. It's very important to me. The Silva Method is just a core value and is a part of who I am. And what you learn in Silva Mastery helps you do just that, make it more muscle memory, really being able to take the techniques that you learn and apply them at a deeper level. Really, so much of the benefits have really helped me and my family. Up leveling even just this last couple of years into the teenage years for myself and my family. It's been pretty tough, as life can hand all of us different challenges. And I know it's not just that way for myself, but for all of you and for many people that you know, I'm sure. And to be able to go a little bit deeper, to be able to go in and take the techniques and apply them in a different way, helps open everything up. And it's definitely helped me solve some pretty challenging situations. And my oldest, Johnny, actually Johnny and William will be attending the Silva Mastery course that Ken is previewing tonight and will be here in Atlanta April 26th and 27th. And I am over the moon excited. It's really hard for me to stay in my seat when I talk about it because I've asked him, I keep begging him, please. And I programmed for it. And he said, how about this, Amy? So I'm very excited. But my oldest son, Johnny, has been through Silva Mastery too. And actually when he went through it, he was actually experiencing some pain. We were over Zoom at the time, and as he went through it, he kept telling me, "Mom, I'm feeling better. My pain's getting a little better." So it was really neat to experience that. Some of the projects that you may be working on now, um, you can really go even deeper in Silva Mastery and get even more information as to which direction you should take. Get even more up close and personal and awaken your intuition as well. So I tonight our goal is to really tune in and to gather together as Silva graduates and really listen deeply and have superior concentration and understanding, and really tune into Ken and his presentation for how what we learn in the Silva method and how we can continue that growth in Silva mastery and in life in general. As you know, it's it's interesting times that we're in, and there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of chaos, and to really be able to harness that and tune in is our goal tonight. So before I introduce Ken officially, I'd like to invite everyone to do a very short meditation and just tune in really, really quick, just to tune into each other. So, if you would, I invite you to get into a comfortable position and close your eyes and take a deep, cleansing belly breath. And while exhaling, enter your level on your own. Take your time. How good it feels to progressively relax more and more. Tonight, we are gathered together with Ken Coscia to learn and go even deeper with our Silva practice and to learn from him life mastery, our Silva skills, and a preview of Silva mastery. You will have superior concentration and understanding and experience the information and what you need to hear and learn in the best way for you. You will be able to tune into this information anytime in the future with the use of your three fingers technique. Take a deep breath. Relax. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5 and cause a sound with my fingers. And at that moment, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. 3, at the count of 5, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before, feeling the way you feel when you have slept the right amount of revitalizing, refreshing, relaxing, healthy, wonderful sleep. 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake, feeling fine and in excellent health, feeling better than before.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Welcome back, everybody. Geniuses. So, thank you everyone again for being here. I am honored to have everybody here. It's so exciting to see how many people are here to be here tonight with Ken. And Ken, uh, many of you know Ken. Uh, Ken Coscia is our training director. He started the Silva Method, teaching the Silva Method at age 19, and has been doing this for over 55 years. And he is the instructor in Connecticut, the New England area, and Chicago, and also the instructor as we are gathered here tonight for the Silva Mastery. He is the only one that teaches it. And I am so excited for him to be here. I consider him a dear, dear friend, a mentor, and for both myself and for my family. And I am honored every day to have him in my life. And Ken, thank you so much for being here with all of us and for sharing your passion with us.
Thank you, Amy. Woohoo! Hello, everybody. I was just getting really comfortable listening to your voice, Amy. For those of you who don't know Amy, and those of you who do, um, we got to brag about each other a little bit. Amy's very special. You're really blessed and fortunate. One of the things I've always appreciated about Amy is she's a continuous learner. And I bring this up because it's a good model. Really, tonight our topic is life mastery. And can you guys see that one of the reasons why we all study for our personal development, our spiritual development, is to master our lives in a way that we navigate the chaos, the stuff, with more grace, more ease, and in flow. Does that make sense? I mean, those of you who study with me, I always use that as a dominant theme, that it's really about taking command of our lives. And I would like to open, Amy mentioned a little bit, but I'll just say, wow, things have gotten in the United States, in the world too, but US, very crazy. And there's a ton of misinformation. And I would just say we all need to fact check and fact check and fact check and fact check and look, because if you don't, if you keep hearing the distortions, the lies, or God knows what, people begin to believe it. And we're all in this together. We're all fellow Americans and we all love our country. And I'm working toward us having more harmony and unity. And that's the beauty of being here. And I feel that I've been kind of selfish because I've been in a bubble for 50, it's actually 54 years this May, Amy, surrounded by people like you guys who are working on making a difference, working on being better. It's very different than being in a, as you guys know, a corporate setting or a so-called real job or what have you. I mean, it's almost magical. I don't know how I and my family would be in the good position we're in if we didn't have these tools and techniques for that. So I'm so glad you're here. And I really want to explore that and go over some things, some takeaways. And may I say that by the fact that you're here tonight, Amy was very strong on saying it's a preview of mastery. Well, I want to talk about life mastery a bit in that. And by the fact that you're here, that tells me you're hungry to grow, you're interested, you've recognized the value, and you've also completed the Silva training. Why is that important? Is because you've gone past just listening to somebody tell you how good it is. And then when you experience it, like when we do caseworking, most people think they could never do that. And can you remember? It's like, oh my God, did I do what I think I did? It's life changing. You never go back. It's a shift in our consciousness. And what I want to say to you too is, question for you is this for you? Is this your time to take that next step to enjoy the graduate advanced program, which has become the official, by the way, graduate program, replacing which decades ago we used to call the graduate seminar, which is a good program, but very academic almost, intellectual. And when Jose brought me in 84, I loved it and I followed my mentors. There were four key people dozens of times, like Amy follows me and goes in other seminars with respect. But I really made it my mission to make it more practical and to go beyond just, the knowledge base, because knowledge is great, but what the heck good is it if we don't use it? And that's again to go back to Amy. Amy, what I really appreciate about you is you're always using it. You're always I don't even remember how many times Amy has reviewed. She knows the material inside out. She's been doing this since she was 12, if I remember correctly. So it's at least 10 years she's been doing this. It's a little inside compliment, Amy. I know it's more than that. But the point is, I find the more I know, the less I know, because we're always growing and expanding and evolving. So for those of you who are not on video, I respect that, but I want to, for tonight and in general, you're the type of person, you're here. Obviously, you're interested. I very sincerely recommend, if you're multitasking, doing emails, watching TV, or doing something else, it's kind of a waste. It doesn't work. Multitasking does not work, and all the research shows that, and it only adds more stress into your system. And distress is the number one reason why people are not getting what they want. The number one reason why people are not living a fulfilling life. The number one reason why people are having accidents. The number one reason why relationships break up, businesses tank, is people are living in survival mode. That's the danger now. When there's high uncertainty, we really only, whether you do mastery or come back and review Silva, we all need to have a constant um, attention paid on taking care of ourselves, on self-care, on keeping ourselves balanced and centered. Because when we are not, and we're overloaded with stress hormones, we're more vulnerable. We go into survival mode, the brain takes over, we can't think clearly, we make terrible decisions, we block all intuition, and that's a fact. Neuroscience is showing that more and more. And for that matter, if you're just meditating to stay on top of things and release the stress hormones, it's the difference that will make the difference in your life. So again, I really appreciate you guys who are doing the work, because it inspires me. I just returned, I guess it's not quite 2 weeks from Australia. Barbara and I made a little vacation. Some of you knew this because I wrote about it. But I got to tell you, we finished our last 3, 4 days. I did mastery. Then we had a day off to, do bookkeeping, tie in loose ends, and then we took off home. Oh my God, it was such a high. I'm just reminded every time I do this. And what I want to share with you is to reflect on is when like minds get together physically, virtually a little bit, but physically in the same room, and there's a level of trust. And then when you have someone like an Amy organizing, and I know she's got my back, she believes in my work, I believe in her, that's when the magic happens. So I suggest to you, spend as much time as you can with people who have your back. Spend as much time as you can with people who believe in you and believe. They may not agree with you, but they at least believe in you that you'll figure things out, or that you'll, do the right thing. Very important. It's all about epigenetics, the environment having a big impact on us. And that's what I meant by being selfish, because I sustained an injury before I did my Chicago class. It's pretty serious. I'm in recovery mode now, and I'm a lot better. But while I was in the airport, they had to wheel me in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk. I could barely walk. It was so excruciating and off. Man, was I meditating? I was making promises to God. Everything I was taking wasn't working. I had some expired prednisone I took because it wasn't time. I had my cane. It was great. We didn't wait on lines for that. But all I can say is thank God. You'd never know it when you saw me do my class, mastery, or when I was in Chicago, except for those of you who know me, you saw me sit down more than usual because I couldn't stand. It was, and it was becoming a distraction, for that. And it got me through that. And I'm convinced a lot of the healing that's being facilitated is taking that time. So I'm, staying off, with that. So my point is, I admit I had the accident because I was in a rush. I was short on time. I was going out for my walk. It was all snow and ice. And I took what I thought was a shortcut between the snow. It was all icy. And that's the point. We usually have accidents when we're not at our best, when we're rushing. I was in stress mode. There's a lot of things going on. I was rushing to get stuff done. I wanted to get my walk in because I really like doing it, for that. So again, to go back to this, if you're comfortable, whether you're on video or not, it's a short period of time. Pay full attention, because I hope this is that you get really good value from this. This is, what it takes for that. So that's my 2 cents on that. So let's take a look. I would like to read to you a couple of things and just kind of reflect on this a little bit. There's a lot of research, as you know, probably about flow state, and intuition. Exciting time to be alive. One of the books I recommended somewhere behind me here, you can see it's called Stealing Fire by Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel. But Stephen Kotler is doing a lot of research in this. And let me just read this to you, see if you relate to this. When you step into a room and immediately sense something's off, that's intuition. So can you guys relate to that? How many times have you walked into a room or you're with a friend, a dear friend, a colleague, coworker, and you say, "Are you okay? Michael, are you okay?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." By the way, I'm just making that up, Michael, but to make the point. When you're so locked into an activity, though, that time vanishes and everything clicks, that's flow. Two of the brain's most potent and mysterious tools. So, my friends, my dear friends, um, when we were in the Silva class in the immersion, and you played the intuition game on Saturday morning, day 3, and you're looking at a partner and you're tuning into them, or when you're in some of the meditations, and I said, that sucker was 35 minutes long. Really? I felt like it was a minute, 5 minutes, 10, or I felt like it was 2 hours, some people would say. There's no sense of time. And then when you first, not as a reviewer, but when you're first introduced to case working and you're told we're going to have a 2.5 to 3 hour, by the way, all instructors need to allow minimum 2.5 to 3 hours breakout for the case working. It is the secret sauce, so to speak, to ensuring the transformation is solidified. And that's out of Jose Silva's mouth himself. And part of my job is to preserve his legacy. But how many people say, wow, that's a long time? And the next thing you know, it's time to get together again. Agreed? It just flies. Or you're sitting with your partner, and I've got to come and tap you on the shoulders. Hey, Frank, hey, Frank, good to see you. Quick little aside. Uh, Frank, it's time. Time's up. And he's thinking, really? Feels like I just started. That's flow. And when you're in flow state, you're at your best. You've heard me so often talk about allowing your best self to emerge. That's the whole purpose of the Silva method. Self-care, homeostasis, get into balance, get out of stress mode because the brain locks into survival, and survival is not about growth, it's about protection. And that's when people become defensive. So some of your family, friends, coworkers, people who are very defensive, they're probably under a lot of distress and they're not managing it. Can you see that? Think about that for them. And then people don't think clearly. They say things they wish they hadn't. They have these knee-jerk reactions. And the blood stops flowing properly in the brain as well as oxygen, and it blocks the higher thinking functions. So here's a little more. For years, we've known these experiences are linked. Intuition seems sharper, faster, and more accurate in flow. But why? In their latest paper called Flow, which I'm going to be reading once they release it, Flow and Intuition, we cracked the code. The answer? A blend of high-speed, non-conscious processing and deep cognitive control. And all that means is you're on autopilot. You've integrated the tools. That's the benefit of following up, reviewing the immersion, attending graduate events, workshops, attending the practice groups that we have that we advertise, in the Sunday newsletter, attending mastery. It's important because it's too easy by default to slip into old patterns. And by default, that means autopilot, automatic, because we have decades, and decades of programming. So a lot of what you and I are doing is creating new neural pathways, new habit patterns, and that needs repetition, etc. So flow isn't just intuition on steroids, it's intuition in action, an ultra efficient state where decision making becomes effortless and the brain optimizes itself in real time, and so on and so forth. And they're looking at their research, which I'll share another time. And that is when I read this, that is what I experience every time, especially when I'm with graduates in a graduate workshop or in mastery. And that's what I invite you to re-experience, because some of you have been through already with me, or to do even first time. When you're in that state, you'll have all these meaningful coincidences. I've been getting emails from Australia, clarity, able to make a decision. Money that was owed them has been returned because we do a very powerful forgiveness exercise. It's wild. So I have a little bit more well, a lot more, but there are 4 points I would like to make and share and help you to see. Because again, I hope that this is a good fit for you, but that's up to you to find out. there are four aspects in our mission, what we want to do, what mastery is about. Number one is, and it's all written on the page, I have 2 pages of mastery, is to identify unconscious obstacles, to identify what may be holding you back. When it's conscious, you take care of it. I'm talking about the subtle nuances. When that little light bulb goes off, you say, I got it. So a couple of quick questions. Help me out here. I'm on speaker mode for the purpose of the recording, but just by a show of hands, and I'll scroll through. I know that you wouldn't be here if you're not getting results. Some of you have worked miracles in your life. Some of you small results. It doesn't matter with that. But how many of you have ever had the experience that you get results, you're making progress, and then maybe a week later, maybe a month later, maybe it's 6 months, who knows? You slip back into an old pattern. Hands up high. Let me see. Give me a chance to scroll through. Now, those of you who are still not on video, too bad, you miss out for that. Thank you. The group, welcome to the club. For all of that. How is it that sometimes it seems effortless? We do some programming with Mirror the Mind or whatever technique you're using. All right. Okay. And then other times it seems like we're hitting our head against a wall. Have you ever experienced that? And no matter how much you do, it seems like it gets worse. What the heck is going on? These are symptoms, signs of resistance, inner unconscious-like resistance. Or how about this? Have you ever had the realization? Take something simple. It's not, I don't mean to minimize headache. And you're not using the headache control technique, or you're having trouble falling asleep. I admit, 54 years later, sometimes I'm in bed and I'm feeling wide awake and I'm, breathing, and I'll say to myself, hey, sleep control, buddy. I'm serious. I'm not making that up. And I'll do it. And say, it's like, duh. And then I'm gone. But do you ever ask, what's going on here when we need it and we don't even use something that we have available to us and we know that it works? Can you relate to that? It's called an unconscious avoidance mechanism. There's a lot of work in that. Those of you who know me, I'm constantly reading, researching. I am heavily invested financially and heavily invested still in my time. I'm constantly going to events. I'm constantly on, when I can't go physically, virtually, reading and so on, and researching. And that's why even my immersion, the way I teach it, there are a lot of slight nuances that people notice. But in mastery, I was 2020 in Australia. They loved it. This time they said I was like totally different because it's a result, the feedback for me, working on that. So that's a biggie. That is a way I have become masterful in getting people into flow and creating an environment of trust and support in there. So this is only for graduates. I don't care how many PhDs somebody has. I don't care. They teach stuff like this. If they haven't been through the Silva training, I don't want them in the class because it's not a review of the training, number one. And number two, I want people who have actually done caseworking and stuff like that because they've been there. And there's a whole different mindset. I can do more in 2 days than I could with people for 10 days or more with brand new people because there's more openness. Same thing. Some of you have graced me, hiring me to mentor you, coach mentor you. When we're one-on-one, I can do more because you're open. You know me. I don't take strangers and I don't take people who haven't been through the Silva training, and ideally that they know me, because it saves them a lot of money and time. We can go right into it because we have that rapport already. And that's, what mastery is about with that. So a big thing is self-awareness, to recognize what's holding us back. And oftentimes it's like a light bulb. So let me give you an example. I'm going to use some simple ones because I want to abbreviate a little bit. Woman, she's working on managing her weight. And she says, I know I eat way too much chocolate, but I love it. And I think she was serious, addicted to chocolate. Can you relate? I love chocolate, but I know I'm not addicted to it. So it's like one of the guided meditations. I have 6 that I've created myself for this program that I don't even talk about when I do the immersion because they're that special. and they require a lot of explanation. So she went through the cave, and it's a mental regression to help you identify specifically a target. What do I need to work on? Somehow an association has been made. So what unconscious avoidance mechanism means is it's more painful to work on changing than it is to continue to suffer because the suffering is predictable. We know, I've been living with this like this because unconsciously nobody likes to change because it's uncertain, and uncertainty is a big stressor. That's why today, please take care of yourself. Today, there's too much, excuse my language, crap going on. There's such a high level of cruelty and vitriol and anger and people not having adult conversation. Hey, you're smart. Let's help me understand. That's not happening, and that's really dangerous. It usually leads, well, I'm not going to say what it leads to for that. So that stress mode is what holds people back. So anyway, so she did this, she's going back, and part of it is to relive it and remember some happy memories, moments. So her intention is, she said her intention, I want to solve this. What's really behind my addiction to the chocolate? What's going on? She went back, little girl, her dad traveling for business constantly, like I used to. And every time he left, by the way, psychologists will tell you no matter how you talk to the child at that early age, it's abandonment. They feel abandoned. Dad or mom is left, no matter how you say, I love you, I'll be back. It's very unconscious. It's deep in the lower brainwave activity, in the subconscious and so called unconscious. And it's high emotion, intense emotion. So it really makes an imprint. Emotion is the driving force. Then dad finally comes home and there's high emotion again, but joy. She jumps in his arms and she's so happy to see him. And they hug, oh, daddy, daddy. And he hugged over my baby. And what does he give her as a gift? Chocolate. True story. Like a light bulb going off, she realized because of her abandonment issues, which we all have to a degree, depending on your age, the association was she's loved. The chocolate was triggering feelings of love. My daddy loves me. He cares about me. I know it sounds, I don't know, it sounds oversimplified, but that's what it amounts to. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but from all the studies and working and even doing my own work over the decades of occasionally seeing a therapist to sort some things out with that. Those are the kinds of things that I'm surrounded by all the time with people. Another guy, a salesman, Butch, we do an exercise at the end of the day, which in the morning we spend a portion of time identifying what's holding us back, and then we start addressing it and playing with tools and play games. So I have a very silly way of doing forgiveness. It's very powerful though and effective, and it brings up a lot of guaranteed in 2 days you'll elicit a lot of healing emotions, a lot of positive emotions, not just to feel good, you know, in that context. So this guy tells me, he says, Ken, I got to tell you this. I worked on this guy. I've been spending months with him, a proposal for his company. It's a big, big project. It's good for them, good for us. And then all of a sudden he ghosted me. That was it, dropped it, and I couldn't get through to him. So I said, what the heck? It's been a few years, few years. He said, so I worked on him because I was really feeling resentment, worked on forgiving him. That night, it was Saturday night closing. And I didn't hear from him the next day, nothing. But maybe that week, he said, I'm on the road. He's on the road all the time for sales, driving. He gets a phone call on his cell from guess who? This dude. And he's all apologetic. He says, I got to explain myself. You gave me so much time and effort. You're great. It was all that. But there was a big change in the office. There was a big, management crisis. And I couldn't contact anybody. I was at risk of losing my job. And I apologize. It was beyond my control. But now I can do something. And I'd like to make it up to you. And can we explore? Would you be interested? And he said, are you ready for this? The best part of the story? He was in the car, one exit away on the highway from where he would get off to go to the guy's office. He said, well, how about in 15 minutes? I could be there in 15. And of course, the guy said yes, and they clinched the deal. It almost seems like magic, and it's not. But remember, you're more than you realize. What we're thinking, the energy we feel, it's all about energy. And a lot of what you're doing in the Silva program or in any meditation is to manage our energy so that it works with us and that we stay connected to source, we stay connected into that flow state, and we use what we have. You have all this already. It's just that these blocks get in the way, and the stressors and things hold it back. You get the idea? All of us have imprints from our parents, our elders, and stuff that pass from generation to generation. That's a little bit more complex. That's something some people will work one-on-one with somebody doing that. But even things like that have come out. I'm just looking. I was taking notes, thinking, at level. Every time I exercise in the morning down here, it's my combination Zoom room, grandchildren room, and our exercise room for that. So number two, well, in fact, let me I feel impressed to just share this story, to stay on this identifying what's holding us back, these triggers, and getting out of stress mode. Is a dear friend of mine who has since passed away, psychotherapist. Her thesis PhD was done on anger. And I did a lot of work with her and was helping her to develop some workshops. And I always remember this. As a young girl, I think it was Maine or the northernmost New England. She grew up where there are a lot of logging communities. And she said, as a little girl, she used to love sometimes to walk by the river. It was so beautiful, but she see all the logs. They were cutting down trees and then cleaning them and putting them in the river, and they would naturally float down to the mill so that they could create products out of the wood. And she said, it was really wild to see that. But every once in a while, I would come there and there was no movement. And there was a log jam, and all the river had gotten jammed up. Maybe a beaver made a dam or something. And they kept coming, but it would get tighter and tighter, so much so that you could almost walk across the river as if it was a floor. And she said she used to marvel because all of a sudden a couple of trucks, pickup trucks, would zoom in, guys would jump off the truck, and they had these big long poles, and all of a sudden they'd be poking at the logs at selected areas. And she said sometimes I'd see them spend maybe 5, 10 minutes poking, and then all of a sudden one would break loose, and it was magnificent to watch. Everything would break through. You don't want to be in that path, by the way. Very powerful. And sometimes they'd be there for an hour poking. And I find same thing is true for you and I in our lives, that sometimes all it takes is a little shift in our perspective to see things a little bit differently. And that happens also when you're in a group of like-minded people, because people are sharing constantly. Oh yeah, I can read. Oh, that makes sense. And it's like little light bulbs going off. That's what self-awareness. It's the fundamental principle of psychological health and well-being. What was it? Plato or Socrates said, know thyself. For thousands of years we've been taught. That's the key, is to know ourselves, to understand that. So that's a big piece. The second piece of our mission together, I feel like Captain Kirk, or no, Mission Impossible, should you decide to accept this mission for that. If you don't know me, Barbara and I love movies. We want to, we know the importance of having goals. Agreed? Goals give us a target. But goals are very fickle. They change like the weather. Have you noticed? Today you want this, tomorrow you want that. How many times you've written out a goal, you program, and you didn't get it, and then 6 months later you realize, oh, thank God, that's really not my interest. Agreed? Just say yes, Ken. Yes, yes. Well, that the key is to know what you want, gives us direction and purpose, and to stay focused, to stay the course. So you folks, you honored me, you honored Amy with your presence, you honored your instructor when you went through the, excuse me, when you went through the class, Laura, I don't know if any other instructors are on the call, is that you showed up and you continue to show up. That's all it takes with that in life. And obviously to pay attention, and obviously to apply and implement. So one reason why another big reason people are not getting what they want is they're not congruent. There's a high level of what's called incongruence. One part of them wants to go this way, another part of them wants to go that way, because their goals, what they think they want, is not in alignment with their values. So the question with values, we do a values exercise, a bunch of questions, pencil to paper, then we go to level. Who or what's really important to you? And when we know and are clear and stay focused on what's important, our values, like what's going on now in your community, what's important to you? And if there's something you can do to contribute in a positive, are you doing it? When you're in alignment with your values, you're more likely to take positive action that's consistent. Your behaviors, our behaviors need to be consistent with our values. If they're not, it blows the whole deal. And sometimes some of you who I've gotten to know better one on one have been in work environments where they ask you to do something that's illegal or you know it's just not right, but you're being told. That's what's happening to a lot of government employees right now. They're in a quandary. They're not sure, am I doing the right thing or not? I wouldn't want to be in their position. It's really tough. They need a lot of love with this. So a big thing is also the paralyzing effect that indecision has. One reason why people are having trouble making a decision to move, to shift, to change is because of lack of certainty or lack of confidence. What will it mean? So one of the things, an exercise that we'll do called Future Self, it's about creating your life vision. And the research shows in high performance studies that another reason why people are not getting what they want is their lack of a future identity. They don't recognize, understand what it will mean a month from now, a year, 5 years from now, as they grow and develop, and implement these skills for that. That's why the Silva class is step by step, spoon fed for that reason. We're creating a bit of a future identity with that. So, a lot to this. A lot of meditations, at least 6. There are exercises. Another big part about this that I would say has been probably a favorite is what I call pair programming. You'll learn how to work one on one with a fellow participant of your choice and help each other with the goal you have. And research is showing in distant healing and remote healing, we need a lot more research. But some of the studies coming out of University of California on remote or distant healing from some of the other meditation groups that are very similar to Silva or in alignment with our values are showing about a 35% effectiveness. It's obviously far from 100, but that's pretty darn good. And what they're also observing is we still call them energy circles in Silva. We get together as a group and somebody has a serious health challenge and they sit in the center of the circle or lie down, and the group of graduates go to level and physically you're right there with them projecting healing thoughts or energy. And I participate in some advanced meditation groups in these events for a week long, and they are finding that the healers, the people doing the projection, are getting more value, more healing than the recipients. Those of you who have any kind of theological background or Bible, you've heard, as you give, so shall you receive. And that's why you remember when you did caseworking, if you were hung up on, can I do this? Will I be accurate? What happens? It's hard to do it. You struggle. But if your attitude is, I don't know if I can do this, but how, how is a good guy? He seems to care about these people. If I could help them, that would be so cool. I don't know if I can. But if we have that attitude, no problem, we do it. That's why most people teach Silva, why most people become therapists, why most people become coaches, because we learn more when we are teaching, because it's a detachment from the preoccupation, the self-absorption of ourselves. That's another obstacle in the way, becoming preoccupied, self-absorbed. And there are several guided meditations that I teach you and that we'll play with that put you in a position where you let go of that. And that's, again, when I don't like to call it magic because it's not magic. I mean, we could spell it out, but it seems like that for that. So it's about getting that alignment, getting your back congruent with this. Um, it's your best chance to be yourself and to bring out. Third, I just want to respect the time. The third mission together is we want to stay healthy and productive in spite of it all, you know, which is what we've been talking about. So another one, these are some cards I have from a dear friend of mine, John Felito. Some of you have met John. He's the author of, it's online, The 90-Day Game. He's my coach. I'm his coach. And he's part of a once a month mastermind, small group of people where we talk about really deep topics. And I love it. This is on grace and ease. So you've heard me say we want to navigate the chaos with grace and ease. Struggling comes from fear and doubt, and causes you to draw from the limited resources of your intellect. We now understand that biologically and neurologically. When you apply this principle of grace and ease, you draw from a much larger pool of resources the creative faculties of imagination and intuition within your inner conscious mind. Struggling bypasses the natural processes of incubation and illumination where inspiration is drawn. Grace and ease means less tension and less anxiety and controlling more ease, trust, and faith, which puts us into that flow state. Pretty cool, with that. So part of it's reinforcing the rewiring of our nervous system so that we can't always close our eyes. And it's not always practical to meditate. Let's face it, you have a life. So you learn things like three fingers, but there's a lot of tools that you can use. They call them trigger mechanisms technically, so that you start creating positive associations to you in your environment, your physical environment, and the people in such a way that it has an uplifting effect rather than a downgrading effect. With that, there's a lot to it. And yes, we do this in 2 days. And and I want to just did want Amy and I talked about having some Q&A. So we'll open, we'll finish on time. And if you want that needed, I'm happy to stay a little bit. But the other thing that note I made here to myself is, by show of hands, if I were to say, or Amy, isn't Amy such a calming, beautiful voice with that? Which is, I find hard. Her daughter, Kaylee, always says, I want to listen to Ken, my guided meditation. Whereas I want to listen to her. And that's how it goes with your children. They always want somebody else other than their parent. Well, that. Who in here would like to have good, healthy disappointment? Who's up for a nice big disappointment? Hey Ken, what are you smoking or drinking or what's going on here? Who in their right mind wants to be disappointed? So can you see that a lot of the indecision, the paralyzing effect indecisiveness has is because we're not sure. What if I screw up? What if it doesn't work? What if I look like a fool? What if they don't like me? What if I mess up? I heard, who the heck was it? It wasn't Russell Crowe. Oh, it was famous Hollywood actor. Everybody knows, George Clooney. And I've heard dozens of people say the same thing. You only learn when you mess up. You only learn when you so-called fail because you learn what not to do. And it has such an impact emotionally on us. It's like, oh man, that's what kicks us in the butt and motivates us to take action. I mean, there's a lot more to that with that. And that's another obstacle in the way. So a big part of what we do as grads is building on that confidence, building on that high level of certainty, building on those, I call them moments of excellence. When you can, at level, review a moment of excellence, a time when you're at your best, as if you were there, that is a state changer. That gets you into flow. That gets you thinking more clearly. And then the key is, how can I sustain that and do that more repeatedly? So it's all about that, the weekend, the tools. And last and not least, God, I always do this to myself. I always get inspired and take down notes more than I could cover. The other thing which is dear and near to me is I study a lot of modalities and I'm skilled in more than I even talk about, but they've never done it, moved me. Yeah, that's cool, that's nice, that's good, but they've never moved me the way Silva has. I believe I was born to do this, which is why I'm still 54 years later with that. So I think we're all in this together and everything has its value and its purpose. I don't, like when I was younger, think, everything, and I've never really been like that. Everything's, Silva. No, there's a lot of great stuff and great people out there doing that. We need to collaborate. My mission is I've become masterful in teaching and facilitating this program and using it, and I'm far from perfect. I'm in it like you. So I am looking for people who get that and are not know-it-alls, but people who maybe have a lot of knowledge, but recognize I want to put it to use. I want to integrate it in my life. I want to make this so that I live it. And it's not, oh, it's time to go to my level. Okay, three, three, three. That's so mechanical, but it works to get us started. But you want to get beyond that where we live it. We're eating it, we're breathing it. That's like Amy, a family. I've grown to love that family. They're going to adopt me. I think I'm going to, I hope the kids call me Uncle Kenny because this family, when our mom was alive, she was her partner. Oh my God, it was like watching them. They come together in the class. Wow. And you could tell they were really supporting and loving each other. And man, we need a lot of that. So I'm looking for people who want to integrate, as a result of the work we do, the Silva skills in a more meaningful way where you live it. You're on autopilot with it. You don't have to be so routinized. And that, I mean, the meditation, I think, should always be there, the eyes closed, because it's those little stresses that build up, you know, in that with us to move, with that. And if you're that person, boy, I'd be so honored. I know Amy would be too, to have you in that, whether it be in Atlanta with us the end of April or the first weekend of December in Farmington. I have no immediate plans to do it anywhere else in the US. It's premature, not even in Illinois at this point in time, um, with that. And if you haven't gotten the message, I'm definitely, how should I say it? I continue to work, but I'm slowing down. I'm being much more selective. And I mean, it's hard to believe because I'm still sort of working full time, but by comparison to what I'm used to, so I'm on that track. There's things that we're working on with our family, with our grandchildren. So, and this is one thing that's my baby that I'm working on, supporting the new instructors to help them, support their grads with that. Anyway, boy, I think I was on a roll there for a while. How about we open up, Amy, if you're still there?
I'm here.
I forgive me, Amy. I kind of hogged the show, but it was my. You said it was supposed to be me talking, so
Yes, it is was definitely supposed to be you talking.
if anybody has a question or yourself, Amy, something you want to say, we can take a few minutes for that. I'm happy to do that.
I have a quick one, Ken. The book that you mentioned when you began, that's in that stack behind you.
Yes.
What was it?
Hold on. Asking you, shall we see? I didn't like my product placement. When I do
Yeah,
things for new people who haven't done Silva, I always make sure the Silva book is prominently displayed in the background.
can't miss it.
Feeling
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's that if you like research, it's easy read, but it's a ton of research. And what one reason why I really liked it was all the people they're mentioning from the 70s, Stanley Krippner, the people who started the float tanks and so on. I studied with them. They were a lot of them doing work in Brooklyn, Maimonides Dream Laboratory. And I studied with them. I didn't have to go travel, fly anywhere with that. And a lot of them went off the grid and their reasons why, because they were doing a lot of things with the paranormal. So they tell a lot of the backstories, which I really got into. Oh, that's what happened to him. John Lilly is one of them. Have you been in those float tanks, the sensory deprivation tanks, where you
Mm,
consciousness? I know I don't care for it either. I've done it. It's, I bounce off the walls. But he's the one who developed that. And now, of course, there. But anyway,
I do a lot of things. That's not one of them.
yeah, I'd rather meditate. It's more fun. Well, I meditate in the float tank, but yes, I hear you. I hear you. Anybody else? Any other questions that Amy or I can? You can always email us too. Um, Amy, just remember that this is also why what I want to make a statement. In Silva, our business model is very different. And one of the things I appreciate, and I think you do too, is you are not a face in the crowd, one in thousands or hundreds. You get the undivided attention of the instructor. Even when because for a few years I've had waitlist in the classes and maxing out at 40 to 48 people, you still get my undivided attention because anybody you could be seen. You're not lost in the crowd. And as far as I'm concerned, that is vitally necessary and important for transformation. Because if you're before someone who's skilled and knows what they're doing, they're watching and managing their energy and your energy in the room. It's like a concert. I feel like I'm a conductor of a symphony orchestra, the group. And that's why I only want people, I'm going to say this to you. We have 40 spaces. Almost 10 of them are gone. And when they're gone, with that. And if there's still spaces 2 weeks before the class, the fee will go up to the regular fee. So right now it's early bird. So if you're resonating with this and you'd like to be there, save your spot as soon as you can with that, and be there. But at the risk of sounding, I don't know what I sound like. I just find that I want people who know, like, and trust the Silva method. They know there's value, but they're asking, how can I make it work better? Or how come I don't always get the results I'd like to get? And what can I do about it? That's very different than somebody who says, really, does this really work? Very different. And that's with that. That's what I'm looking for. That's the criteria for people in there. It's also why instructors, this is a must, a required program to take the graduate, like just like the ultra seminar on healing, for instructors to be, because it really builds deeply. Amy, you there?
I'm here. I also see Patty, you have your hand raised. Do you have a
Thank you.
question?
Yeah, hi, Ken. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you and appreciate the information that you gave. I'm not going to be able to come to the seminar,
Thank you.
but I really like what you shared, and I'm going to take it to heart and put it in practice. So
Super.
thank you so much.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of the videos I send out are on the blog page. That's the way to practice. Just anything you can do to keep the fire burning, so to speak. That's all. There's a lot of great things. Thank you, Patty. Hey, Michael Vienza, you still there, Michael? Where'd you go, buddy? You can
I'm
unmute.
still here, Ken.
There he is.
You've been through mastery also. Can you briefly just add something what it's meant to you? Because this dude, since I've gotten to know him, he's a deep thinker, and he's been reviewing repeatedly, and we've had some fascinating conversations, he and I.
Well, that was my fourth Silva in a year. And you think of perfume, for example, there's like one note that pulls the whole thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that mastery is the note that pulls everything together. And it kind of starts getting you to think about it a little bit more, something beyond 333, 222, 111, that there's something more here. And so I find the meditations, I still do the meditations, and they're supportive.
Very cool. Thank you. I know. Thank you for that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I think you're okay. Anybody else? Amy, then you can see probably better than me if there's other questions. You're good?
I think we're good. Any other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Do we get the resources after, like, to use, like,
Yeah, you'll get a manual. You will get a manual, and the guide. Excuse me, back up. Yes, you get a manual, and then the guided meditations are available for purchase, but we always give a big discount when you're in mastery for that. So yes, you'll have that you can keep for the rest of your life, and they're very reasonably. Yes, so yes. There's no other resources. There's a recommended reading of books specifically that I pulled a lot from that you'll also get in the manual. I think that's it. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
How do you say Yadira? Did I say it right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Very pretty, very different.
Wonderful.
So cool. Different names. Anybody else?
Anyone else?
All right, kiddo.
Well,
Okay.
I'd like just to say, Ken, it's great to see you. And I would love to have been able to come, but that's my birthday weekend.
It's a good way to celebrate your birthday.
What a way!
Those of you don't know,
It is.
some of you probably know Frank. Frank was teaching after Lucien Lamoureux left us and was not teaching. Frank, beautiful man, in the years I know him. Kind of miss you, Frank, but I understand life, things change.
Life goes on, but it's been great, and it's wonderful to see you again and hear what you have to say, and it's spot on.
Thank you, buddy. All right. So I think my parting thought is I appreciate you guys being, it's fascinating. 40 people registered and more than half, showed up live, which is doesn't usually happen. It's usually like 25%. So that we, Amy and I both, well, I'll speak for myself. Appreciate your interest.
Yeah.
Love doing this for you, and I look forward to sharing some more.
Yes. Thank you everybody for coming tonight, and it's wonderful to meet those of you who I don't know, and thank you for spending an hour with us, and we hope to thank you, Laura. uh, hope to see you guys soon. The Atlanta Silva Mastery is Saturday, Sunday, April 26th and 27th. And it is available and open for registration. And in Connecticut, Silva Mastery will be I believe it's the first weekend in December, Ken?
Yeah, I think it's the 7th and 8th or 6th and 7th, something like that.
Okay, excellent, excellent, perfect,
People
and
already registered for December. It's wild.
wonderful.
Usually you don't announce, so I haven't even really done an official announcement. Very cool. Thank you for your interest, guys. All
Well,
righty.
thank you. Have an amazing, wonderful evening and a better rest of your week.